Welcome to the Daily Edge. In the seat with us today, we have Brian Levy, CEO, founder of Goal Line Football. You represent coaches, you represent athletes, now you represent high school athletes and college athletes. You've been doing this since 1990. You were Jerry Maguire before Jerry Maguire. Tell us the story about how you started this.
Interestingly, I got started through my relationships with some basketball players
Okay.
and ended up working with Anthony Mason back in the late 80s and
Go Knicks.
did not like the business. I was involved in a family business at the time, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. These guys are very needy. And in those days, we had beepers. We didn't have cell phones. You get a beep at like 3 a.m. with a 911. It's like either he's arrested or in trouble. And I just said, you know what? This is not good. And I was at a sneaker store in Long Island, and I knew the owner. And the owner said to me, there's a guy in the front of the store who says he plays for the Jets. And I asked him if he had an agent. He said he just fired his. So I said, I don't do football. And he goes, schmuck, you do now. So that's exactly what he said.
Who was that?
This guy, Jerry Candell. So, yeah, it was... So he said, schmuck, you do now. So in those days, to get licensed, actually the NFLPA wasn't certified at that point. So just to get your certification from them, you just needed a pulse and an ID, which took me like no time. Now you have to go through tests and whatever. So we went in and got my NFLPA certification. Brad Baxter is a client. He's got his own wall in my office now with his jersey, and
Wow.
I was blessed to still be close family with him. I named my first dog Baxter after him.
Wow.
Have pictures of Baxter and Baxter. So Brad is still family to me. I know him for 36 years, which has been the greatest blessing. I got to see his number retired at Alabama State a few years back.
Wow.
I got to be there with him, and then his nephew played at Middle Tennessee State, and I got to go to a game there with him because I represent the head coach at Middle Tennessee. So it's like a big circle. So I started with Brad. I was living in Long Island. And somehow my desire to take him to Peter Luger's caught on with some of his friends and teammates. And all of a sudden I went from just Brad and I having dinner at Peter Luger's to a table of like 8. And then I was getting all these clients to sign on from the Jets because I was local. And they saw me a lot. So this is, 91, and then we started having draft picks. And I started having, first round and second round draft picks through the 90s.
So let me ask a question there. Did from that departure from the NBA and moving to the NFL, was it the same business essentially? Like all of a sudden you went from having no NFL clients to having one to then having all of these Jet players that were around you and growing, and then finding college players. Did you know how to do that because you had already done it in the NBA and the style, the organization of the business was the same? Or how did you make that leap so fast?
I have to be honest, the NBA is a totally different animal. In those days, they were sending players to Europe to get experience, especially big men. So that was like the breeding ground for some of the stuff, in some ways to make money for agents. I didn't love that space. The football space was totally different to me.
Yeah.
Especially because there was a lot of face-to-face, and I could hang out with the guys, and guys would, I'd come home and the guys would be in my driveway playing with my daughter. My wife would be making dinner for them at the house.
Yeah.
So it's just more personal, which is what I always wanted.
Yep.
I'm not a big corporate person. I never loved that. And, it was really wonderful to experience and have the organic relationships with them versus the just football business.
Yeah.
In those days, remember, those players weren't making a whole lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we had Kimbo Camper on the show, and so Kim was older than them even, playing in the late 70s and 80s, and like he was saying that his entire career salary is less than what a long snapper makes in 1 year in the NFL now.
Exactly.
So way different worlds.
And you think about it, like, I think about all the players I represented and guys even Pro Bowlers like Charlie Garner. I mean, they made just, $3 million was a ton of money in those days. That was like, you're one of the top paid players at your position.
Yeah.
So it was hard. It was hard to make money. I was starting a family and had a house in New York, and it's a very tough business. It really is. It's not just tough because it's not only you have to add to your client base, but you have to retain your client base too.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of competition, and there's tons of people out there doing things that I wouldn't do to get clients and solicit clients away from other agencies. And they probably saw me at that point as a smaller target, so I was just new in the business. But I relied on relationships, and I'm so lucky to say that probably almost all of the guys I represented in the 90s are still close with me.
That's amazing.
Because we're kind of close in age, if you think about it, and I love them, and I love their loyalty to me.
And like we have lots of entrepreneurs that come through here, and the power of relationship, or the foundation of relationship, or there are salespeople who say that selling is all about relationships. How did you figure that out, or how did you put that at the foundation of your success? How did that become the rock for you?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and until I was 12. And, like as a young kid, you learn that there's something about loyalty, right? There's something to be said about people who love each other, not for what they do, but for who they are. And I think that if our core values shine through early in the relationship, so that would be trust and honesty and respect, that's foundational roots for a better relationship. The tree's going to grow stronger. What you see now is these kids are, their loyalty is to their need of you, not to you. And once they don't need you anymore, their loyalty is over. And I don't believe in that. I'm loyal through and through, and I've been that way my whole life, and I pride myself on that. I know it's not a two-way street.
Wow, that's really powerful, and it must have become very difficult to manage the change of the athlete and the change of the college athlete. And like we were talking about before we came on, like there's a high school market now, which there's no way you could have seen that coming when you started your business. And you have your son who works with you, who's running that market for you. How do you pass on those core values? How do you help him navigate some of the transactional part of the business now while staying true to the fundamentals?
I think much like what you experienced with your father, I think that I've passed those values, those core values on to him. He's watched it over the years. He's been a part of it. He's seen the relationships that I have. As a young child, he's been to Super Bowls. He was at the 2009 Super Bowl when the Steelers won, and knew Mike Tomlin, and went to the postgame party, and Mike made him feel special. And he knew and he saw the relationships that were developing. I mean, he had a ton of NFL players at his bar mitzvah who loved him. So it's just, he understands it and he gets it, thank God. And I explained to him when he started, there's no shortcuts. We don't do it that way. There are other guys that are going to be taking shortcuts that are going to get guys, and don't get disappointed. The right kids for you are going to be the kids you sign. And if they're not the right kids, then don't sign them.
Right. I was just recently on a podcast where I was asked about like my craziest recruiting story. And there was a kid when I was at the University of Florida who we recruited, who prior to NIL had taken money from another school and was going through that conflict of like, I don't want to go to that school, but we've taken the money from them. And he ended up coming to us because the head coach said something amazing, which was, you can't ask for it back, right? Like they can't say anything. They can't tell on themselves, and you can still make whatever decision you want. Despite that, was it hard? Was there ever a hard decision for you in your career where you saw somebody cutting corners, or somebody was doing something that was not in alignment with your core values that you really wrestled with, or there was like some kind of, I don't know, urge, or like, oh, I could do that, but that conflict of interest? Was there ever a point that you had to really, really hold on to your core values?
I have to tell you, no.
Good for you.
I walk away from those situations quickly. My whole staff knows about that we have one rule here, and that the rule is that if it smells like shit, it's shit. Like, stay away from it. It's not good.
Right.
You don't want to observe it. You
don't go anywhere near
You want to
it.
just walk away from it, because ultimately it's going to come back to haunt you.
Right.
And I think that signing the wrong client is a short-term decision, because I always say if a kid's for sale at any stage of his life, then he'll always be for sale.
Right.
Right. And I just believe that it's a bad precedent to set. If you do it for one, then you're tempted to do it for others.
Right.
And it's just no. I would tell you honestly to stay away from that, because once you get involved in it, you're in it.
Did you learn that through a bad experience with somebody else? Did you learn that through watching somebody else go through that? How did you? I mean, you spent 36 years doing this, and you've never compromised your core values. You've always known to stay away. How did you learn that?
I've had it done to me.
Okay.
And I don't like the way it feels when
Interesting.
I have a client and someone comes in and buys them away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there going like, wait a second, I had a great relationship with this kid. I thought everything was perfect, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
And there's a great quote by Mark Twain. It says it's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled. So once they've been fooled, so in other words, in the NIL space, not in the NIL, I'm sorry, in the portal space, I have college coaches, so they tell me this. Every agent that solicits a kid in that space, and most aren't certified, it's their trainers, it's their 7-on-7 coaches, it's their uncle, it's their high school coach, it's their cousin. They come at them with, I can get you 300,000 in the portal. 300,000 seemed to be the number last year. Everybody was getting 300,000.
300 grand.
And I call it the portal potty.
Right.
Like I do it because if you're in there and you don't get out,
you're toast.
You're toast. You're stuck in there. But
I don't think there's enough people talking about that.
No,
the kids that are
brutal.
getting screwed by going into the portal,
lose their scholarship,
lose their future. Like,
correct.
Where do you end up and go from there is crazy. But sorry to cut you off.
No. But if a kid's told he's worth 300,000,
yeah,
then no matter what you tell him,
he's worth.
If you're an agent, if I'm soliciting him and I say, I'm thinking like $1 million, $1.5 million, 100, 150,
right?
And then he's like 150, 100,000, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's probably where you're going to be.
Yeah.
And then they go to the portal, and they get 100, 150.
Right.
But for the agent that got them with their 300,000, that was the hook. He pulled them in.
Right.
Now he still makes commission on whatever he gets from them.
Right.
They feel like they lost money with the guy.
Right.
Which in essence they never did, but it happens in free agency too.
Sure.
In the NFL, the agents come around and they'll tell a player. We had a player a couple of years ago. An agent came around. We had done an assessment of his free agency value. And we do a good job because my president of my company is a former front office executive.
Oh, wow.
And he said, you're probably going to be in that $6 to $8 million range.
Mm-hmm.
Based upon stats, comps. And another agent came around and told him 10 to 11. And he left.
Yeah.
Why not? Because it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled.
Wow.
And got 6. So again,
have you ever had anybody have that experience and then call you back and be like, "Hey, sorry, I left. I'm coming back."
I've had players come back, of course, but these guys are just telling them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
These guys are so gullible, but then their ego kicks in.
Right.
And their ego's too big for them to ever go back and
admit that they were wrong.
I messed up. I should have been with you guys, and
that's terrible.
Yeah. So
so when I met you, I was a college football coach.
Yes.
And I was in that business, and I recognized that you represented a lot of really successful coaches that I respected in the space. How did you go from player to coach? And is there one or the other that you like better?
The player side, what happened is over years, these guys are getting older, and now they want to go into coaching. This is, like over 22 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And one of the guys I had met at Hofstra was Raheem Morris.
Yeah.
And he was on the football team because I recruited his teammate, Lance Schulters, who at the time I was in Long Island, and Jay Fiedler was on a 2-year sabbatical from the NFL.
Go Fins.
Yeah. Before he came back. Still the last quarterback to win a playoff game.
Let's go,
Shout
Jay
out number
Fiedler.
9.
Right.
So, when what happened is Jay's introduced me to Lance Schulters, who's a kid from Brooklyn, Gemini. We're birthdays are like one day apart in May.
Wow.
We hit it off. Didn't sign with me initially because I was his aunt thought I was too young, which is so crazy. And I'm sitting here now talking about a time in this industry when I was too young to represent someone.
Yeah.
Subsequently signed with me 2 years later. But he came in and this guy comes out of the locker room and he's like, "Hey, Coach Fiedler," and he says, "Hey, this is my agent, Brian. This is Raheem Morris." And He said, "You here to watch me? You here to represent me?" I said, "I don't know who you are." And whatever. We struck up a friendship and had the gift of gab. And I said to Ra, I said, "Look, at some point, if you ever want to go into the agent business, you got a job with me."
Yeah.
And we stayed in touch through Lance's charity work. We met at some events, and Raheem calls me up. He goes, "I'm getting a job with the Buccaneers as a quality control. I need you to fly." I was living in Miami at the time now. "I need you to fly up here and go through my contract with me." And I had 3 players on the team at that time also, so it was fine. I came up, I visited the players, spent some time with Raheem. They were working out of a trailer park.
Wow.
Which was crazy.
Wow.
His office, his partner in the office was the defensive backs coach, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been in a trailer, they have those little closets, a sliding closet.
Yeah.
They each had a closet that they sat in. Was
Oh, I know that
desk.
well. I know that well. My brother Jake can attest to working in the closets of buildings, like not even trailers, buildings. You still had to be in the
NFL
closet.
Team,
right?
though, with Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
You could hear people talking. You could hear people in the bathroom. Like, it was horrible, that building, but they won a Super Bowl out of that.
Yeah, right.
Which goes to show you it's about being close and united.
Yep.
But anyway, through my relationship with Raheem, Tomlin would talk to me. We would talk, and I would come to. They would go to Gruden. Would take his coaches to Hooters Friday afternoons, and I would sometimes show up at that. And one day Mike said to me, I know you don't really do coaches, but I'd like you to represent me.
Wow.
And I said, I really don't know how that looks. He goes, well, look, let's figure it out together. I like how you do business, and I want to be a part of your business.
Wow.
Yeah. So Mike was like my first full-time.
Mike Tomlin was your first well, really it was Raheem, right? Like,
really Raheem, yeah.
It was Ra, and Ra led
Ra
you
say Mike will say Ra wasn't a coach. He was a runner. But Mike became that guy, and it was interesting because we had made some, what I did was at that point is I said, I got to treat this like the player side. And Mike said, well, how's that work? I said, coach free agency. You guys are so locked in all the time to your contracts. Let's come up with an idea. Let's not sign the extension this year. Wow. So he was at the Senior Bowl. They had lost that year. They were coaching the Senior Bowl. And Mike had an extension given to him, and we rejected it. Now, in those days,
this is amazing.
There was no Rooney Rule per se, so that if a team wanted to hire Mike from the DB room to the coordinator, which they can now, he wouldn't have been able to go. So we didn't sign it. The season's ending. Mike goes to Senior Bowl, does a great job there. In those days, every practice was on TV. It was a big thing. When the teams would coach. And we got an offer from Brad Childress called me and said, I'd like to bring Mike here as my defensive coordinator to Minnesota. Mike goes to Minnesota, gets that. The next year, now the Rooney Rule's in effect. The next year, the Dolphins bring him in and interview him.
Yeah. Of course.
Great job. Hired Cam Cameron, who was fired that first year after winning, 3 or 4 games.
Oh,
Mike goes to Pittsburgh.
The pain.
And much to the chagrin of their fan base, he gets a job over Russ Grimm and Ken Wisenhunt. Wow. Who he ends up facing against in Arizona in the Super Bowl in Tampa in 2009, where I'm sitting in Raheem Morris's box because he just got named head coach there. Watching Mike Tomlin coach and win a Super Bowl.
That's unreal.
A young Mike Tomlin and a young Raheem Morris.
That is unreal.
So that's
what a story.
how that started. And then through the other guys, just meeting them through that.
And just knowing the coaching profession, like to reject an extension, like
in those days.
Well, forget those days. In 2017, I interviewed at Texas Tech when Cliff Kingsbury was still there. And they were looking for a special teams coordinator. And at this point, Cliff had success, but it seemed like it wasn't good enough. And there was a lot of talks that like he was going into the last year that he would be there. And so I go out, land in Lubbock, right? There's legit tumbleweeds flying around. I was like, I didn't know that these things were real. Another tiny airport. I have a great interview. Cliff likes me. The staff likes me. On my interview, I sat down with the AD and a couple guys that I had known through my career, like, not important. They had told me about the AD, and he was a good dude or whatever, and I could talk to him, and I was like, great. So I sat down with the AD, and at this point, if I would have gotten hired at Texas Tech, it would have been my 3rd school in 4 years. And I was pretty tired of bouncing around the country every year. Like, I was looking for a program to set roots in for a while that we could grow with. And so I just like honestly and transparently asked the AD, like, hey, how committed to Cliff are you? You know, like,
Great question.
I've been around a lot of programs over the last few years, and we really want to be somewhere where there's stability and it's good, you know? And so he gives me the whole song and dance of, oh, we love Cliff and he's going to be here forever. He's one of us, you know. Long story short, they fired him after the next season. Yeah. But when I came back, all signs were good. I was going to get the job offer. Cliff loves me, da-da-da-da-da. I get a call 48 hours later from his chief of staff that says, look, Cliff wants to hire you. The AD's not going to let him hire you. AD says that you're not loyal to Cliff and that the questions that you asked were not ones that would make you a good fit for the organization. Sorry, we can't do it. And I was like, what?
Because you exposed them.
Like, because I asked transparently about, and so like I dealt with a lot of that in that industry of like.
So what did you learn from that interview? Would you do the same thing over again if you had
1,000%?
Of course.
Because I wasn't meant to be there. I know that it wasn't the right spot for me. I know that if I would have gone there, we would have been out a year later. Maybe I would have ended up in the NFL with Cliff. Most likely not. You know, like there's all of those things that you end up learning. But I think it was another validation for me that just the business itself does not always really operate the way you operate. Off of relationship, off of transparency, off of trust. Like, after my first year of being a special teams coordinator at the University of Cincinnati, I got fired by Tommy Tuberville because he wanted to hire Tony Levine, who had gotten fired from Houston, not knowing that Tony was never going to take that job, you know?
Right.
Like, just for no reason. And so, like, hearing the way you operated and giving him the power to go, I'm not just going to accept the extension because I should and because it's a privilege to work for you, and giving coaches that ownership of their career is an incredible thing, especially at that time. So kudos to you.
And it's even dangerous now. I mean, listen, you always have the bet on yourself, guys. The guys that are good coaches, the veteran coaches. Now, there are some guys that are young and have families, and you think of that as well. You have to put that into the equation when you're making that decision.
Right.
But you also have to know when a guy's on the hot seat, which in the NFL is like 10 teams a year.
Right, it's like half the league
they're
every
really
year.
not ever getting these head coaching hires right. But again, you know, if that's going to happen, what you do is you do want to do the extension because it's an insurance policy for the coach.
Right. Incredible. And like, so from, I guess, what year was that you became Mike Tomlin's agent?
I think 2006.
Okay. So 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Over the last 20 years, it does feel like the rate of firing has significantly increased in the NFL. Still sort of feels like they're pulling from the same pool always, though. Like, there's not a ton of outsiders that are getting brought in from college or other places. What if you were a GM, or if you were the president of the Miami Dolphins, what would your hiring process be, or how would you identify who the right head coach would be?
You know, I felt like when the Steelers did their due diligence on Tomlin, they were looking for a young, charismatic leader.
Yeah.
I would want to meet a group of coaches that aren't maybe on everybody's radar or haven't been somewhere and failed before.
Yeah.
And taking a shot at them.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you look at the recycle bin here, and every year it's like the same mistakes are made.
Right.
You know, I know of a head coach that was hired this year, and the team that had fired him a few years ago never received a phone call from the team that hired him this year on reference. Like, what are these teams doing? Now they're hiring these search firms and all these people to help. But again,
simple, right? Just a simple phone call to be like, what did you like? What didn't you like about him?
But everything in this business now, the firings and the hirings are social media driven.
Interesting.
So you have a lot of these ownership groups and owners that will be on X and looking at, oh, wow, they hate us. And, you know, it was a terrible year. And, you know, it's like, you know, look, you look at my guy, Raheem Morris. He's in Atlanta. They went out the season in December.
Yeah.
4-0, beat the Rams on Monday Night Football, beat
Sick
the Bucs
game.
on
That was
Sunday
a
Night
sick
Football.
game.
Right. You think he's got it going in the right direction. It's his second year. He finishes 16-18 over the two.
Yeah.
I never in a million years would have expected him to get fired.
Yeah.
But there was so much fan pressure to move on from him. For what reason, I don't understand. But then you bring in a guy
who had no success.
who went 6-20. Wait, no, I'm sorry, 8-26 over the same two last years, and you sell that as
right.
You know, how do you sell that to your fan base? You're better off bringing someone else in from this. Another guy just got fired.
Right.
After going 8-26.
Right. It makes no sense.
And you're replacing a guy who went 16-18.
I say
so for
it all
me,
the time.
it's frustrating to watch.
And can you talk a little bit about that experience of like having Raheem and having really no expectation for him to be fired? And then I know what it's like being in that seat, but can you talk about what it's like to be like the support system and the co-pilot for that person during that time?
You know, it was important in the last, you know, I went to a couple of the last games because I wanted to be around there and get a sense of what the vibe was in the building and, you know, and just with Raheem and it was so upbeat. And he's got the greatest personality. He's such a great person and everything's always great and he's always happy and the players really love him.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a big part of this whole thing. If the players believe in you and love you and want to play for you, right?
Yeah.
That's what helped Tomlin succeed so much over the years. And, and I think the problem wasn't with that. I think the organization was making organizational decisions. So it wasn't just Mike. It wasn't just Raheem. It was a general manager. It was shifting of other people out of the football business and moving more people in and making room for Arthur's son to come in and do some things. So they just wanted to make it, rather than wait a year, because with the previous coach, they had waited a year too long and then ended up firing at the beginning of the season because they weren't getting off to a good start. I think that they just made a business decision at that point to start fresh with a whole new group, with Matt Ryan running the football operation.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to respect that. It's a business. They own it, and they make those decisions. It's not for me to agree or disagree.
Sure.
You know, my personal feelings are you have a coach that's got the team on an upswing, didn't have his quarterback a lot of the year.
Yep.
You know, and, you know, didn't have a lot of the pieces he needed early in the season. Had some injuries to his key receiver, and, you know, kickers weren't doing what they needed to do there. Special teams didn't produce.
No, they were not good.
But it does all fall back on the head coach at the end of the season.
At the end of the day.
But my thing is, then bring in someone new. Bring in someone fresh.
Right. Why recycle?
Why
Which you
recycle?
see it over and over and over.
Yeah. And there are great young coaches out there.
Speaking of coaches, you know, the Seattle Seahawks just had an unbelievable run. Mike Macdonald is a guy who I like a lot in terms of his style and what he talks about. And they talked about finding the edge every day, right? That tiny little competitive detail, which for us, the name of our podcast is The Daily Edge,
Correct.
which stems out of my coaching days. And so, like, as you've gone through 36 years in this business, what's been your edge?
You know, I'm just uniquely myself. Yeah. I think if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the answer, whether you like it or not. That's the New Yorker in me.
Sure.
A lot of times people don't like it, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes, you know, people presume that I might do better with a filter. But, you know, my son was listening to me on the phone with one of the players, and he was upset because he had gotten cut. And my comment to him was, stop making excuses. You hold every time. You can't hold every single play.
I love it.
And my son is looking at me like, but I'm trying to be honest with him.
Right.
So that he gets better at that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to criticize him to hurt his feelings.
No.
So what am I supposed to say? You should have made the team.
Right.
You were better than the guys that are on the roster. It's not true.
Right.
So I think that that's my edge.
I love it.
Is that I'm brutally honest and that I am always myself. I have been myself since my friends I grew up with remember me since I'm 10 years old. I am still the same person.
Amazing.
Still, you know, don't take a lot of things very seriously. You know, I've been through a lot of tragedy in my life, and I think my sense of humor has helped me get through that. And my sense of reality helps me on a daily basis.
Wow.
be thankful for what I do have and not what I need and want. Because I always have to explain. You always explain to these kids is, you know, they'll say, I need a car. No. You want a car. You need to breathe. You need to eat. You know, and it's like they have to understand that they're spending money on things that they want.
Yeah.
And what happens is the wants, when they exceed the needs, and now your career is over, the wants have no value to you.
Right.
The needs that you really need, like a roof over your head or something. Now, how do you get that?
All of a sudden, it's all
Can't sell your wants to pay for your needs.
Ooh, that's a mic drop. You can't sell your wants to pay for your needs.
Yeah.
That thank you so much for joining the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Incredible guest, great stories. If people want to connect with you, if they have kids that maybe they want to introduce to your company, or they just want to know you and have a conversation with you, what's a good way for people to find you?
You know, it's goallinefootball.com.
There you go.
You know, we have access to messaging on that.
Beautiful.
It's 2 L's in goal line.
Yeah.
And if you spell it with one, you're not going to get me, but it's okay too.
You don't. That's another sign that you don't belong.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the show today. To take us home, look directly into that camera and say, "Let's find our edge."
Let's find our edge, guys.
Let's go.